Good afternoon, everybody. Again, my name's Bill Abolt with Deloitte. I co-lead Deloitte's energy transition consulting offering nationally, and have spent about the last several decades in both the public sector and private sector, working with enterprises to drive the sustainability and resilience of their actions, of their infrastructure, and of their operations. On behalf of the over 1,500 professionals from Deloitte that call Ohio home, I really want to commend the Business Roundtable and the state for taking a leadership role on the critical issues of energy and water, and understanding the connection between those resources and their greatest resources, their people. We're going to talk about water today, and our panel is specifically going to be focusing in on corporate leadership around water, both in the actions we need to take, the business case for them, and the importance of leading by example. We have a couple of great panelists that are the heads of their organizations with a long legacy of leadership and stewardship of both their firms and the communities in which they operate, both here in the state and beyond. So I'm going to turn it over for Oli and Tim to introduce themselves, to talk a little bit about their businesses, and also give you a sense of what they hope you'll be able to take away from our discussion today. Oli?
Sure. Let me first say that when Pat asked me to do this, I didn't know a lot about water, and I didn't know why he was asking me, but I volunteered, and it gave me an opportunity to stretch myself and learn something new, and that's what I've done. A lot of people ask about what does Greif do, and a simple way to explain it is that you have all touched, eaten, or handled something today that has been transported and stored in our products. We manufacture in over 254 locations around the world, in fact in 42 countries. We have been working with sustainability for more than 16 years. We have actually published sustainability reports for 16 years. So we did it way before it became fashionable. So we are regarded as the premier sustainability company in our industry.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Tim?
Thanks. Tim Trant with G&J, Pepsi-Cola Bottlers. First, just thanks to Gina and the Bath and Body Works team for hosting, and Pat, I'm a new member of the Ohio Roundtable, so Pat, thanks for the invite. Second meeting, I stopped at the Cincinnati Tennis last year, so impressed, and thanks for the honor to be part of this group. So G&J Pepsi-Cola Bottlers, we're the PepsiCo's largest independently owned bottler. We also sell, besides PepsiCo brands, Dr. Pepper brands, and we also have a Middle Street graphics and display company south of Columbus, off of Reynoldsburg. So we've been around, actually this year is pretty cool. We're celebrating 100-year anniversary of the Gross and Jarson family. And so when it comes to water, I mean, it's our life and blood of what goes into our products, whether it's Pepsi, Pepper, Mountain Dew, and Gatorade, Propel, and all the other brands. So for G&J, we have 5 different plants of using water, 215 million gallons, which fills about 600 million bottles and cans that our consumers enjoy.
Thanks. You both mentioned that you've been at this for a while, both in terms of sustainability, but also specifically to water. Maybe, Tim, we'll start with you, because I know the beverage and bottling industry has always been kind of at the forefront of a number of issues, from whether it was recycling to the importance and quality of clean, plentiful, affordable water. Could you both talk a little bit about the path of leadership and decision-making that makes it a front and center issue to invest in sustainability and to invest in stewardship of resources for the long haul, both to manage those resources and your commitments to the community, but also to manage the bottom line?
Sure. I think you said it, stewardship and just conservatism, understanding how precious that resource is. And in Ohio, especially the city of Columbus, Cincinnati, large cities around have a resource that we're blessed to have. I mean, there's other states that really struggle with that. So we take that seriously. PepsiCo has a branch called Pep Positive, which is one of the best sustainability arms across the world. And sustainability, it's no different than the safety aspect and driving profit. It's making sure that we're making our products using the least amount of water as possible. And then there's a host of other environmental things that we're always trying to reduce our carbon footprint, if you will, whether it's gas and energy. And for all the folks that are talking today, thank you also just for all you guys do to allow us to keep expanding. We've grown 70% in the last 5 years, and we couldn't do it without the power, the electric, the generation, and the water itself. But sustainability is core to really our DNA. And how do we work on processes that we can actually reduce our water footprint each and every day across all of our plants?
Yeah, well, water is part of sustainability. Sustainability is many things, and you look at it as you're playing on a piano. We're just talking about one key now, and that's water that we're elevating, but it's really important. You can play on all the other keys, but if you're missing a key, it doesn't sound right. Sustainability is a table stake. It didn't used to be, but today investors, have a scope when they're looking at your company with sustainability eyes. In Europe, it's a lot more than it is in North America. Your customers in particular look at your record on sustainability, including your water usage, but also your future employees look at that. And especially when I hear from interns or young people who's coming into the company, the first question they ask is about sustainability. They've all been on our website. They've all read our sustainability report. And so it's really, really important that we are not just reactive on water management and being responsible as a company. It's important that we are proactive, that we lead so others will follow in our footsteps. Some of the things we do, as I said, we operate in 42 countries. We're not that big in Ohio. We have 3 paper mills in Ohio that does consume a lot of water, and we have another 3 converting sites. So all in all, we employ about 1,000 people in Ohio. Some of the things we've done is that we recycle our water 3 to 4 times. We have installed water treatment so that the water that we discharge, we don't discharge anything directly. It's clean. It's almost as clean, and in some cases, more clean than the water we took in. We have done a lot to conserve water. In fact, in 2024, we consumed 65% less water than we did the year before. And how did we do that? We are reusing water from cooling, from air compressors, and so on in many of our plants. Small things like installing touchless faucets, conserving rainwater, using rainwater for other purposes. Those are just some of the things that we're working with.
Thanks. Let's build a little bit on your point about proactive leadership and about the kind of evolution of thinking about issues around sustainability. You mentioned a variety of stakeholders, from investors to regulators to potential employees. And then you talked about the value that you can actually extract from smart management of your resources, including water, from efficiency of operations to elevation of your brand. As you've kind of gone on your journey as a CEO and gone on your journey of building value out of your actions around water and other resources, can you talk to me a little bit about how the CEO needs to think about taking action and evaluating particularly investments to get outcomes that are good for the bottom line at the same time they're good for the resources that you care for?
Absolutely. I mean, number one, tone from the top is really important here. We talked about energy before, and I'll just touch upon that first because it kind of drives the point. We have been working on energy reduction for a long time to reduce our carbon footprint. And when you multiply, if you put LED lighting in one plant, okay, you have a like 3-4 year return on your investment on that. Then you do it in 250 plants. Then the numbers are starting to go down. When you continue to do that, every time you make an investment, your energy footprint will be a lot lower. Imagine your competitors, they just operate as normal. Your cost base gets lower and lower and lower. Your competitor is standing still, and at one point, your competitor becomes uncompetitive. You don't want to be in that position. And this has a direct translation into your competitiveness. The same thing goes for water. When you, like I mentioned, we consume 65% less water. That directly translates onto your bottom line as well. Another element of water is disruption, just like energy. If you disrupt it, it costs you a lot of money. And you got to factor that in. You got to think of if you don't have any water and you can't operate, then what? Well, you're standing still. So we all have a duty and a responsibility here to make sure that doesn't happen. And then the last one on sustainability or your ESG scores, it attracts talent. And you want that talent to be attracted to your company, not to the competitor's company. And all these things, they translate to your bottom line. And that's why it's important.
Thanks. Tim? Any
Yeah,
thoughts to add?
I think Ollie said something really important earlier. If you don't hold yourself accountable, your stakeholders will. And so I think, we have a high degree of holding people accountable to think about, these valuable resources. So from a sustainability, if you don't do it, your investors or your customers or the consumers, they actually will hold you accountable. And so I think it's really important. If you think of, say, the bottling business, a little bit maybe, how things are made. We have a blow mold and an injection molding plant in Columbus. And so we buy resin, we make a mold, and it's high heat, high pressurized. And so adding solenoid valves and reducing the flow of water, we can save 2 gallons per minute based on just the technology. And yeah, it helps, investment helps profit, but also helps just the stewardship of it. We then blow up that bottle, and then we fill it. And we use a reverse osmosis system, which is a 4 to 7 step process that it allows you to taste the same Pepsi or zero Pepsi, if you will, in Ohio than you could across the other continents of the world. So it's the same filtration process to take the city water and make it the best purified water with very consistent standards. And so then we actually filter that water, and it goes through huge carbon and all these different types of filters. And again, adding technology, water meters, the flow process, and making sure that the best technology is out there, adding it to it. So it's more cost, but we know that we're saving water, and we know that we're actually going to make a better product and be more valuable resource of protecting water. So then we actually take that product after it's filtered, and obviously we have to clean the lines before you get that Pepsi Zero. And so then it's capturing reverse osmosis process flow technology that we actually are now 90% efficient. So it's another like 10 points of efficiency. Then you fill the product, the can or the bottle, if you will. But then you got to clean the lines afterwards, and then you got to rinse the bottles after they come out, and you got to warm them so that doesn't have condensation in the packaging. So every step of that process, we actually focus on how every little step you can actually save. So we brought the PepsiCo sustainability team in, and one of the things we asked is like, can you bring me, I know some of the pie in the sky things, but bring me some practical solutions. And they walk the plants with us, and you can just see waste, leakage, water meters not in the right spot. And so, it equated to about $250,000 savings. And we have about another $750,000 just in a few of our plants to go. So every step of that process, you can understand how valuable and how detailed the process is and how many opportunities you have to work on sustainability in real practical terms.
Thanks. You both mentioned both smart management and competitive advantage. And earlier in the day, we heard about the aspiration of the Business Roundtable to be number one in energy. In many ways, on water, Ohio is already there with the commitments that the state has made and the reality of the incredible resource of the Great Lakes that you can take advantage of. Those resources are critical to quality of life and attracting people here to live, whether to fish or boat. But it's also an essential input in production, everything from energy production to business themselves. So given that we've got a room full of CEOs and leaders, and given the importance of the roundtable in leading on critical issues, any thoughts or advice on what the kind of common agenda should be in terms of driving an improvement of the resource so that it is affordable, available, and here for the long run?
Well, I'd say...
And that's a big question, by
Yeah,
the way.
I know. Water, look at it as a major opportunity for Ohio, and look at it not as a resource, but as a strategic asset that we have here in Ohio. There's three ways to look at this. The first one is, excuse me, treat water like infrastructure. That's really important. And the second one, we need to lead by example. And the third one, we need to control the narrative as well. How do we use that water? And otherwise, others will steal that narrative, and usually that goes the way that we don't want it to go. So that's how I look at it.
Great.
Yeah, I think the same ways that, we usually build plants in some of the major cities where water as a resource is not a threat. And consolidation of plants in the United States, thinking through that same thing, how to be better stewards. And so again, starting with stewardship and conservation, really trying to innovate and reduce your footprint. And then it's a matter of just strategic opportunity and being competitive in the marketplace to really drive, your bottom line so you can keep growing. Say if Columbus didn't have great water resources, well, we probably would invest other communities. So it's critical that we have that kind of support through the local city, counties, EPA, and Ohio's. It's a proud place to have a business because people work together to get that.
And we heard a little earlier around some of the challenges on energy, particularly kind of the imbalance between supply and demand, and the need for some significant and big actions. Thinking about water as a huge competitive advantage, as an asset that makes Ohio a leader in the nation, what kind of bold actions do you think that CEOs need to get behind to really make the most of that asset for the state's economy and its people?
Lead. Look at it like you could react to the EPA or to whatever, but you need to lead, or we need to lead. We need to be proactive, so we are the ones who's driving it, and then others will follow. The way I usually look at things and talk about things, not just water, is that as CEOs, you need to do three things. You need to manage the present, and that's very, very important. But at the same time, you need to create the future. If you only focus on creating the future, you will die a slow death because you forget to manage the present. If you only focus on the present and you don't focus on creating the future, you also get the balance wrong. So as CEOs, we need to get that balance right and lead. And you need to do that simultaneously. The third thing you need to do as well is to nurture identity. I talked about attracting talent. We have a lot of great talent here in Ohio. You got to attract them by nurturing your identity. And I won't go into that because we have a people section later, and I could talk about that for hours. But those are three important things in my view.
Great. Tip?
Well, I think Ollie just touched on really something important. Even the sustainability and a focus on that of a business like ours is if we don't do it the right way, you can't attract people. The younger generation, they demand that you have a sustainability platform and you have processes and commitment as a company to do that. And I think in this region, we keep expanding, and I get calls from PepsiCo for whether or not it's other plants of shifting resources and production into either Columbus or, say, Franklin Furnace, Ohio. And so that's a credit to the state of the infrastructure and what that means. So we do have the resources, the energy, the power, and the water sustainability being a core part of it. but that's what drives you to be able to grow, add more people, building out. We're building out another 70,000 square foot warehouse and just added on a plant. So we couldn't do that without, I think, everybody working together in the state.
Great. We've got a few minutes left. I'm going to leave it to each of you to share any final thoughts on both the opportunity and the challenges ahead as Ohio leads the nation on water management. Who wants? Tim, you go first.
Well, I think I've said from a water management perspective. I mean, we're gonna keeping it a core competency, no different than driving profit and safety and hiring the right people, of being conservatism against on a sustainability platform, and it all fits together. And keep hydrating our communities and great customers, and some of you are some of our great customers, Mr. Haslam here, and I think Mr. Crawford of Miami University. And these type of organizations, the Columbus Crew, for example, or Miami, they will hold your feet to the fire that you actually have sustainability efforts, or they're going to get criticism from their consumers as well. So it goes all the way downstream, and I think it's important to have it upstream and downstream and all the way down to that consumer and customer basis.
I can say it very simple. One of the reasons for why we're here is we all want Ohio to go to the next level and be better. We live in one of the fastest growing cities here in the U.S., and we would like that to continue. What the Ohio CEO Summit is all about is all of us, we're chasing perfection. And I usually use that phrase, I chase perfection every day. But I also know that I'll never catch it. But in the process of trying to catch perfection, we all become best in class. And that's what all this is about, whether it's water, whether it's people, or whether it's energy. And you all have to role model that.
Thank you.
That's it.
It was a great panel, and we really appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done.